Hi, everyone, and welcome to Zen and Tech, our weekly podcast focused on centering your inner geek and using technology to help deal with the stresses of your connected life. I'm Rene, and your host for the show is Georgia. Before we begin, I just want to remind you that while Georgia is a therapist, she's not your therapist. Everything said or implied on this episode is for informational and entertainment purposes only, and shouldn't be taken in any way as a replacement for personal, professional care. Georgia, happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you too.
Or are they? Not
really for us, but still for everyone else it is.
So
so
listen,
awesome, and we're coming up.
The minute Halloween stops, I am inundated, I tell you, with Christmas carols at the malls, ads with Santa Claus in them. It's like we don't get a moment's peace. It goes from skeletons and witches to big fat dudes with presents, and I can't take it anymore. I need help.
Well, people already have their holiday lights up, and it gives me a little bit, it freaks me out a little bit. I'm not ready yet. I wait December, then I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
But it's still November. I'm like, no, there should be like a rule, like, Labor Day, white. It should be, no Christmas lights until.
And they kind of squeeze Thanksgiving and in between this. It's like it's not enough that you have to deal with the pre-Xmas stuff. Or the Hanukkah stuff, or whatever holiday you choose, Christmas or Festivus, if that's how you get nasty. But you have to wedge Thanksgiving in between that. So not only do you have the impending dread of family visiting for a week or two over the Christmas and New Year breaks, but they might show up for a long weekend now.
Yes, it's absolutely true. And, with that push to buy and do and put on and have a bigger dinner and more people than it was before, there's a good deal of stress that happens over the holidays. And a lot of people actually, find it a very sad period of time, especially if they're dealing with some loss or difficult family members that suddenly they've decided to avoid all through the year and they cannot during this period of the year. It can be exceptionally stressful. We usually see a rise of seeing people with feelings of intense depression, sadness, stress, and loss. So it can be a hard time for some people.
The ironic thing is that as stressful and impending doom as the idea of relatives visiting, they are sometimes equally not as happy to come visit you or to have you come visit. It's just these social situations kind of force people who are united only by family and not by common interest or affection to be together. You're there because you feel like you have to. They're there because they feel like they have to. And that is not a formula for a stress-free holiday.
No, it can be exceptionally stressful, but there are some things that you can do to make it a little bit better.
Oh, thank goodness.
Because when you're dealing with people that you've known since childhood, all of those little things that they used to do that used to bother you, like we grow up, but we keep all of those old wounds and everything that we said and all of our own shtick still. And it'll come back to haunt you. You have to know that when someone says something, or your mom or your sister or someone else says something, and you're like, suddenly your anxiety shoots up to a 10 in a matter of seconds, know that that's you. It's not about them. They're not actually probably doing anything wrong, but it's just a trigger from a childhood.
Well, no, but they know your triggers. I mean, first, there's let me just separate these out. There are the people you've grown up with who know your triggers, and then there's the people that they have boyfriend, girlfriended, or married who just, in every stereotypical way fit the in-law category. So you have both sort of to contend with.
But in the end, you can say, yes, it's their fault. They should have known your triggers and not done them. But only you can do anything about them. We can't control the manner of people that we have in our lives. It would be great if we could. But it's all about you. It's how you handle things. You can handle things better so that you don't get triggered and don't get, what I call it, sucked into other people's whirlwinds.
So
that's a huge
they might
one.
know how to press your buttons, but you don't actually have to surface buttons for them to press.
Yeah, you can plug yourself out if you so wish. Sometimes it's a difficult thing. Right. But just by realizing, if you feel like someone once made a comment to me, really, really simple comment about something that I did not buy for the table, and saying that means that I'm a certain type of person because I didn't buy it. And I actually felt my anger level and anxiety, it was actually anger, go from like a 3 to a 10 in a matter of a second.
It was like you had your Hulk pants on and you were ready to go gamma.
Oh, yeah, I was ready to throw down. And it's hilarious.
Was this a relative or an in-law? Just for our sampling process.
I don't remember.
No,
Not sure.
because you know, like the family member might know that this irritates you and do it deliberately, but a relative might just make an offhand remark that sort of hits that trigger for you.
Well, does it really matter though?
Well,
Like,
it's
what
their
does it matter
intent,
if they
maybe.
do it on purpose or not? If their intent is bad, and I get upset, or if their intent wasn't and I get upset, yes, I guess one makes it worse. And no, I don't think that their intent at all had anything to do with it. Maybe a little bit, but in the end, it's still me.
Because like, you know, we've all seen those. I mean, sitcoms exist in large part to play off the stereotypical problems in family dynamics. Like they have the parents who are always horrible and overbearing. Howard, you know, and you have the siblings who are always all. I mean, it's become the staple of our comedy, almost our tragedy at this point.
Right, but that doesn't mean that you have to sit in complete torment for the entire time and suck it up. This is also a little bit about you as well. So, one of the first things that we're going to say is that you don't have to spend your entire holiday with your family.
But
You
they're
can
there.
say, yeah, you can say no. You can
What?
say no to certain things. You can say that you have to go early. That's fine. Set your own boundaries and limits to that. You don't
Listen,
have to
listen.
spend
We're
all
coming
that.
on the 14th. We're going to be there for a month. I'm bringing the 18 kids and their dogs.
And you can say, that's great. Hope we'll find you a hotel. You could say, great. I hope that Anna will get to, keep you on Saturday and Sunday. You can say, that's great, but know that I have to go out during
You
this
feel
period
all
of
this
time.
societal pressure to just be like, suck it up and just put it. It's the holidays. It's your family. It's what you're supposed to do. It's what everyone in every Goram Christmas special does.
I think that to a certain extent, yes, you have to, especially if it's, your partner's family. It's nice that you can do that and spend some time, but that does
Oh,
not
that's an
mean that
interesting
you have
question. Wait a minute. If it's your family coming, you have boundaries. But if it's your spouse's or your boyfriend or girlfriend's family coming, it's a much trickier dynamic to navigate. You don't want my family here. We had your family here last. Well.
Right. I think that that's a great point that you bring up and something that's really important. You actually both have to be on the same page for both and be understanding of the other. If not, you're going to start to feel animosity towards your partner, and you don't want to have that because you'll be like, well, I had to spend like 18 hours as they, talked about how I'm not able to, darn socks properly. And, it hurt my feelings the entire time. And if your partner is not listening to the fact that you cannot handle that much of it, there's going to be an issue. Now, you do have to do a certain amount of giving and letting things go as well, but you should both be on the same page.
Lillian,
and it's not
every
always
year,
about being
Uncle
even.
Gus burns down our backyard, and Aunt Bunny breaks down our steps, Lillian. It says, your family, Lillian.
Right. But we put, and as Justin from the chat room says, we put these pressures upon ourselves. They're not good and they're not necessary.
So is the first step then divorcing yourself sort of from this TV enculturation, expectation, bouillabaisse, and just realize that you actually have the right and the power to say no to these situations to begin with?
And not only that, it's good for it. I think that that's a wonderful thing to do, is to be able to schedule so that when you go there, you have your Wheaties, you breathe. If you're having a really hard time during an event, and you're there at the event, you've done everything, you've monitored the time, but someone says something that really sets you off, go outside, take a walk, excuse yourself, run your hands under some warm water and just do your breathing and relax with it. It works really well.
But see, it's hard. So first of all, there's a couple things that make this hard. Oftentimes, relatives will make requests or state expectations that are so flabbergasting to you that you do not have a response ready. It is like you're sitting next to yourself saying, oh my God, how do they have the temerity, the audacity, and the entitlement to ask this? And you just okay, because it's so outrageous, you don't know what to say. And other times you just feel awkward, like you have this voice in the back of it that says, come on. How do you ramp yourself up? How do you make sure you don't get taken by surprise or for granted, or you don't just cave in right away?
I love the rule of always saying no first. If you cannot do this, practice. Say no first. You can always change yourself later. I think that there was a really nice comment from the chat room, and it states, I dream of being able to tell my mother-in-law to stop complaining all the time, but I can't. I have a great way to handle that. No, you should not actually just say, stop complaining all the time. Usually someone that complains a lot doesn't actually want to hear a solution. So that won't work because they'll say, no, but it's this and but it's that. And what you can do is you flip it around on them. You say, wow, and how are you going to deal with that? You're such a strong person for being able to handle that. And then you walk away. Or the other one is don't feed the monster at all. They complain and you just smile and don't answer them. Because what they want is engagement. So as long as you do not engage them in the behavior of which they wish, they'll stop.
Now, is that in one-on-one situations, like you've gone into the kitchen to get more punch and mother-in-law is sitting there with the sniper rifle ready? Or does that also work when you're actually at the dinner table and, you know, you get, could you please pass me some more of that overly dried turkey that you didn't cook the way I suggested you cook it?
Yes, some of it is no matter what, it's going to burn. Like that kind of a thing is going to burn no matter what. But, you know, you could even, you know, you could use humor. You could say, yeah, you know what, this does taste like taste. I'm such a horrible cook. Like you could actually go right in there and let them know, wow, that really was hurtful. And they might even say, whew, you know, you're right. I remember one of my family members had said something about the manner in which I looked really, really sullen. And I said, you know, yes, I know I'm part half zombie, which means them because they made me. And then they kind of took a step back and thought, oh, you know, I didn't, and they said, I didn't actually mean it to mean that. And I was like, it was just a rough day, you know, and I just didn't feel like taking it. And they kind of get it. So you can also call someone out in a way that's kind of funny so that no one's going to be offended, especially in the holidays, but let them know, you know what, that one stung a little bit. You didn't have to do that.
That's interesting because so there's the situations where you are put in an awkward position because of something that happens to you, but there's also I call it the collateral damage situation where, like, let's say you're the hapless husband and you're sitting there and you have your wife on one side who's made the pumpkin pie. I love the way that you said that,
collateral damage. Yeah.
Well, your wife has made the pumpkin pie and your mom is sitting there who made you the pumpkin pie when, you know, you were a kid. And some jerk across the table goes, wow, Rene, isn't this the best pumpkin pie you've ever had? And your wife turns to look at you, and your mother-in-law and your mom turns to look at you, and you just wish that you could dig a hole straight down out into the car, but you can't.
Well, there's a great way out of that. But again, this does take a little bit of social wrangling. But you could say, you know what, this is just as amazing as my mother-in-law that made it last year for us. You know, yes, this tastes just as good as yours was the year before, Mom. Like, and then you let them know right away. I had a similar experience where I used to have this little cowl neck warmer that I had. Mine was a white cowl neck warmer. And I'm sitting on, it's a holiday, there's a lot of people in the house. And my mom, I love her to death, but she's very, very honest and open. And she just says it as it is. Like, she's very, very straight. So one of the guests had also a cowl neck warmer that they had brought. So my mom comes in with the cowl neck warmer in question and says, oh my God, Georgia, how could you leave your neck warmer so dirty? I can't believe this. I'm going to go and wash it right now. Now, for me, you would say, oh my God, how could your mom say that to you? I was like totally good. But it wasn't my neck warmer.
See, I can see the train wrecking like in Matrix time, like it just hitting and the thing is slowing and the waves flying off of it.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my, like, how do you stop the shrapnel from flying everywhere that it may be? And I'm like, oh God, what do I do? What do I do? And all I thought of was just, I got up so that I could like veer my mom out of the room. And I was like, Mom, and then outside when she wasn't there, I'm like, Mom, that one isn't mine. And she went, oh, good God, she said. And then we just put it back and I left it. Like, there's sometimes that you just say, you have to leave it.
You acknowledge the train wreck and you look for survivors.
Yes, and in the end, you have to lower the expectations of everyone that's there. People are going to screw up. If if your family was always hard on you about one thing, there's still going to be that. You have to kind of just expect that it is going to be exactly like that. I remember attending an event and I was like, you know what, these family members that we have do not get along. This is going to be like a Jerry Springer event. And I said, okay, that's just what it's going to be like. It's going to be like that, and we're just going to deal with it. And it actually ended up really great. We just said, you know what, no matter what, we would handle it. And after my hubby and I laughed about how wonderful it actually ended up.
Well, that's an important point, because as we're saying some of the situations, people in the chat room are laughing. We're laughing when it's actually happening to you. It is not funny at all. But in hindsight, it can be funny again. Can you kind of laugh some of these things off?
You definitely can. You definitely can. And always be careful to those that are the guests in your house. I love this thing of etiquette. So if someone takes the finger bowl and starts to drink from it, you have to kind of drink from it yourself. Everyone is at a higher level of stress when they're attending a family event. You're not the only one. Even if you're the one hosting it, everyone else is going to have a hard time as well. And you have to just let it go. When you see someone else's 6-year-old dropping cake in your white carpet, you know what? It's a party. If you didn't want, it shouldn't have chocolate cake, have white cake, it's easier to get out. And you have to just let it go, because in the end, know that it is up to you to have guests and deal with it.
So, you've handled these questions so far, Georgia, with grace and aplomb, but I want to raise the bar on you. I want to give you some really challenging ones, because these are the ones that people are actually dealing with now. So let's say that either you have a relative of your own who has some sort of more serious problem. Maybe it's substance abuse. Maybe it's something that you don't want around your family. Or maybe they're dating someone who has this problem, and that makes it even worse because you want like your daughter or your son there, but not necessarily the person that they're with. How do you deal with that sort of an issue?
I think that you have to take a serious and honest look, not being overly sensitive, on how dangerous is it for your child, having, this person around them. Is it something like they might be, say, an alcohol abuser or a gambler, or they might drink too much, and they might
have stolen the car that got them there.
Right, but it's not really going to affect your children. Are not going to be affected by that, because they're going to be relatively composed and they might get a little bit tipsy and fall over, but it's not going to be something that's going to be a dastardly effect to your children. It might even open up the state of being able to talk about these things with your children, and be honest about it. Of course, age appropriately. Certain ages they don't have to need for. But let's say that one of your family members is, that they do drugs and drink or do some other things
that could be on an A&E reality show,
and they ask to take your children home with them in the car because you need someone to drive them home. That would be the line. That's actually danger to not just embarrassment, which you really have to, some of it you have to suck up and, worry, or they might do something that might embarrass them, but this might endanger the lives of your children. That's where I would say, you know what? No. And that's okay. Yes, might it be uncomfortable with some people? You don't have to say in front of everyone, and people are like, oh, we have to be completely honest. No, you don't. You can make up whatever you want. And if the people are knowledgeable enough, they'd say, you know what? I'm going to let it go and say, you know what? No, you can't take them home because whatever it may be. If you want to say the truth, that's fine. But I usually like to try to say...
keeping the kids with me, or we prefer keeping them with us.
Yes.
My mom already offered. Or...
Yes, exactly. But thank you very much. And you leave it like there. So I think that you have to draw the line depending on where it is. If someone is going to be abusive to you or to your children in front of them in a harsh manner, you should always make sure that you go and say, you know what, take them out of the situation. And you don't have to even admonish that person in front of the family. That's going to cause a conflict. You can do that at a later date. And in private, don't ever admonish someone in front of a whole bunch of people. That's never going to get you the right response. It's going to embarrass them. But you can, let them know in another way that might be a little bit less direct. And talk to your children in another room. Say, you know what? I know that they were really harsh to me. Actually, I had that happen to me with one of my family members when I, wanted to help with something. I was probably only 6 or 7, and they yelled at me really loud and scared the bejesus out of me. And my mom after took me aside and said, that's just the way he is. He doesn't really mean to do it. And he didn't, yes, it was a little bit loud. And that was it. They didn't go over about it. They didn't say, how horrible they were. They just, they didn't mean it. They didn't do it with intention to harm.
So,
and
all
do.
right. So to go from I like throwing these challenges at you, Georgia. You rise to the occasion. To go from the dangerous just to the sort of awkward. Let's say your daughter, your son comes home for the holidays with their significant other to whom they are not yet legally wed, but they want to stay with you and they want to stay in their old room together with you. Or let's say you bring your boyfriend or girlfriend home, your traditional parents, and they start preparing separate rooms for you or setting up the couch for you and the room for your girlfriend. How do you negotiate those changes in culture between the generations?
Really easy rule is this: when you are staying under someone else's house, you're staying under, you are their guests, so you stay under their rules. If they make you two separate beds and you are engaged, you've been together for 20 years, my answer is you could talk to them very quietly, but suck it up. It's not that big of a deal. It's about them, it's not about you. But you should also let your partner know that they're kind of old-fashioned, they might like this, this is the way that they'll do. Is that okay with you? If not, stay somewhere else. That is your full right, but that's their house, it's their rules. Now, the same thing, if you have family members that are choosing to stay with you and they're, 14 and 15 and they want to sleep in the same bed, and that goes against your own morality, it's your house. You have that right too. Sleep in separate rooms, ask for it, or if you feel comfortable, that's up to you. But I think that in the end, someone's house, someone's rules, you deal with it and or you don't.
And quite honestly, she might take one look at your Spider-Man comforter and all the other trappings of your tiny single room that you last stayed in and not want any part of it.
Right. Exactly with that.
Now, let's say like you go from awkward to the hostile. Let's say for some reason you have family members who just do not get along. Either they're like oil and water, they're brothers who've never seen eye to eye, or maybe you married someone that your parents hate or your spouse hates your parents, or there's real animosity between two members of your family and they're going to be together for the holidays, maybe especially under your roof. Is there anything you can do to mitigate that kind of a situation?
Well, I love this rule because we went through like different people that don't get along, and who do you invite, who don't you invite? Do you do two separate parties? Sometimes you can do that. You can also mitigate it so that people are going to, like, there's going to be enough different things to do so that they don't deal with it. And I would ask both of them, I know that, Aunt Mary is going to be there and you two had a fight. If it would be possible, I would appreciate if you guys did not have a fight. Or if you want to have a fight, do it, but please, go outside where someone else isn't going to hear it. Or if you have really close neighbors, please just don't. If it is with you are one of the opposite party people, and it's you that doesn't like someone and you're worried, you should always have a little call signal to your mate saying, you know what, I have to get out there. I have to take a break. I have to take a walk.
Condition red.
Or, let them know right away. If you're going to a party and someone's not going to like what they're going to be there, then always have I have to leave early so that if something happens, you can pull away quickly and not embarrass anyone or make anyone feel bad. Along with that, if you don't like what you're eating, please don't suck it up, kind of deal with it. I have the same rule for the kids. It should be, you just deal with it and you let it go if it's so
you draw as little attention to it as you possibly can.
Exactly. Someone spent the time and effort to put together a party, to do the best they can. So try to handle it with humor and being calm and being relaxed.
So there'll be some situations where you just can't have people in the same room. And I guess the classic is, for example, if your parents are divorced, or the even more classic now, if your parents are divorced and his parents are divorced and everyone wants you at their place for the holidays, or they all want to come to your place for the holidays, they simply cannot be together. How do you as a couple maintain your own sanity when you have all these other previous nuclear engagements pulling you in different directions?
I think that that's a really great comment. And I think that most people try to take on other people's issues on themselves. So, and that's not fair. I would love, if you have, say, an event and all you have to do is exactly this. You let them know, listen, I'm inviting. If you can do two events and that is easier for you, some people do it and it works out, and that's fine. But some people can't afford it and or don't want to do it. So say that it is a christening for a child and all of the families there, they don't really get along, they don't really deal with it. You tell them, you know what? You're both being invited. I just want to let you know that, Fred, who you had the fight with last week, is also being invited. I don't want to have any say, but, it's up to you. And it's up to them. If they want to come, great.
David in the chat room is saying double turkey day win.
It could be if they're going to do it, but sometimes you're going to want to host. And you can invite everyone, and it's up to them who chooses to stay and who doesn't choose to stay. But don't carry it on themselves. It's their issue, not yours, and it's not fair for them to even put that upon you.
Is it worthwhile making a schedule? Like this year you're at this parent's, this year you're at next year you're at that parent's. Does that work as well, or is that just a recipe for disaster?
You can definitely do it, but people might end up, if you have to for some reason change your dates, always let them know that this is what I'm going to try to do. Sometimes this might not happen because of weather, or if someone's sick, or if someone's suddenly
pregnant, can't travel.
Let them know straight ahead, and don't carry the guilt. You do the best that you can. So you say, okay, on this Christmas, I'm going to spend Christmas Day with one person, and then Christmas Eve with another person. If you can do that, it might not be because of the space and time. So it might be one Christmas with one family, then say another holiday with the other family, and then you switch it. And then you have to say, but of course, I just want you to know that this might not work. Because in the end, say that this is because of, a lot of it might be because of divorce, and families are having to choose. They got divorced. Yep. It wasn't you that chose to get divorced. And it's not fair for them to put then the guilt of who are you going to pick, who are you going to spend time with on someone else.
So the last one, I'm going to try and sneak one last one in here, is it seems sometimes, especially around the holidays, like I mentioned with the divorced parents thing, your previous nuclear families become at odds with your current nuclear family. And it feels like your current nuclear family, your wife or husband, your kids, needs to take priority. But sometimes you're worried about a sick parent, or the in-laws are making demands. How can you make sure that your priorities are where they're supposed to be, and legacy guilt or just the baggage you have from the past isn't undermining your own family, like your new nuclear family?
So what would be the issue, though? Would this be with the amount of time that you spend with each?
Yeah, like maybe your parents visiting for the holidays are incredibly high maintenance, or maybe, both parents are making outrageous demands, or they're trying to get more time with the kids. They're doing something to try to, that kind of takes you away from spending time with your own family.
Well, I love the fact of, if you can, when you're going to be going into battle, I have my battle thing. So anytime that you're going to be going into something that might be a difficult experience, sleep well, look nice, wear something that you feel comfortable and assertive with. If you can, invite other people that are your support there with you, so that you're not alone. So if you have a friend or a family that, you're going to go and this is going to be hard for you, can you come with me? So that you have someone to lean on, and let them know this person's, usually rough, this might be hard, so that you don't feel alone. Then you always have to know that you have to put yourself and your needs above anyone else's. Mm-hmm. And then it is your nuclear family that you are choosing to be with afterwards, which was, now you can feel guilty because maybe you'll say, but my grandfather, he's, older now and he's doing this and that. But his responsibility was to his family. And the best legacy that you can give back is to make sure that you take care of your family as well.
Yeah, what you owe your parents is paid back to your kids, not to your parents.
Exactly. A child's responsibility is to take care of themselves and then be good parents to good parents to their children. You are not a child to raise and take care of your parents. That's what their parents' jobs were of theirs, and then they bring them on to the other children. So it's not that you have to pay it back, and they're like, well, you're my only child, and I feel all this,
I did so much for you. I walked through the mountains with milk in my hands barefoot, and now you owe me.
Yes, and they did, and that's great, and that's wonderful, and it's beautiful. Not that the guilt thing is a great way to go, but anytime that you do something out of guilt or fear or anger, look at it, because it's probably not going to be the right thing.
This is how you pay me back. I sent you to medical school, and this is what you do for me.
Right, exactly. It is you taking care of yourself and learning, you know what? It's okay to let go.
Yeah.
It's okay. They have to. You're not going to please everyone. And Rene, what's our favorite tagline?
Their expectations are not your obligations.
And they're not.
George, this was, I think, one of our best episodes ever. I'm gonna actually write this whole episode down and wear it around my neck to remind me during the holidays.
Awesome. And the chat room is talking about parents being guilted and everything else. Yes, that's your parents. They can run their guilt trip, but it's their guilt trip. Don't carry it for yourself. You see people freaking out and getting angry at other people. So say that your brother is like freaking out because something happened to him. You see the little whirlwind happening, step back. Let the whirlwind like take its time and deal with it. Don't be sucked into someone else's issues and whirlwinds. It never ends well. And who do they always shoot?
The messenger.
Yeah, you try to fix it, they're just going to hate you for it.
Yeah.
So stand back. Let them freak out. Oh, my God, I can't believe that Sally did this to me and this and that. Go, wow, that really sucks. And go off and have another piece of pie. Like, remember me during this holiday season and eat that pie for me.
This pie is for Zen and Tech.
Exactly.
Georgia, where can we find out much, much more about you?
You can find me on the website ZENandTECH.tv and also on Twitter, on Twitter at GeorgiaTIPV.
Nice. And you can find me at Rene Ritchie. You can find both of us at Zen and Tech. You can email us at podcast@ZENandTECH.tv or leave a comment when the show goes live on the blog. We really like hearing your comments. You give us tons of ideas for the shows. The questions that you have, the things that you are going through. Please listen to this show. Go enjoy your Thanksgiving, enjoy your Christmas, but leave a comment. Let us know how these tips, which ones worked for you, which ones didn't. We want your feedback so that we can, make an even better episode next year. Right, Georgia?
Yes, we can. I'm just going to mention something from the chat room. Triple J mentions that they have a code word for family get-togethers. I love this. It's LIGMO, which stands for Let It Go, Move On. Love that. That's a beautiful thing. Yep. Just allow, and sometimes that's all you need is for someone else to say, I see it, I hear you, I know that this happened. And then you can say, you know what? Awesome. I can let it go. Yep. I can ligmo.
If you guys haven't already, please go to iTunes. Please subscribe to the show. We have both audio and video now. You can actually watch Georgia give the advice, not just listen to it. So please subscribe. Please leave a rating. It lets iTunes know you like the show. It'll encourage iTunes to feature us. That means more people can find us and we can have more people engaged in these awesome conversations. I'd like to thank everyone in the live chat room. You make this such a fun and enjoyable show. And I want to thank you, Georgia, for sharing so much with us this episode.
It was a really fun episode to do, and I hope that it does help make people's holidays a little bit better and more enjoyable and just, ligmo.
Ligmo. Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.
And the quarterback is toast. Awesome. Oh, you one of those modernized women, eh? Okay, you sit down and watch the football. How you doing?
No, how you doing?
How you doing?